Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Matthew Swaby. I am Director of the Bechtel Innovation Design Center. And all I can say is, phew, what a week. But I'm hoping it's all downhill from here, and it certainly should get a lot simpler and a lot more fun. I apologize for the delays. Some of it was out of my control. Some of it's just been a crazy week for everyone, I'm sure. And I also sympathize with you guys having to sit through yet another kickoff lecture for a class. I promise I'm going to try and minimize as much of the repetitive information and focus on as much of the fun and cool stuff that we've got to look forward to in this class. So, design for prototyping. And the crew that you're seeing here is last semester's holding all of their finished projects, which they all had fun making. So, design for prototyping. Firstly, a quick disclaimer. You can read it. It's the same everywhere. This is a novel semester, shall we say, and there could be a lot of changes which are going to be difficult to manage. So the too long didn't read for the class. It's all about learning to prototype physical projects with processes that we have available in the Bechtel Center, and then asking you guys to prove it by having you guys carry out a project to make something. It's also supposed to be fun. It's only a 1-credit kind of introduction class, nothing too heavy, nothing too serious. I also want to talk about volunteering in the center, which is the kind of natural next step from the class to really get into the center, really capture the skills, really learn how to effectively use and make and create things, which is something which is enormously fun and exciting to do, at least from my perspective. So in the class, there's actually 2 sections, which I'm currently having merged on Brightspace, and hopefully that won't break everything. But there's 5 or 6 people taking the class remotely, and there's about 48 people last time I looked taking the class in person. The class is going to run almost identically. The remote section will use the remote machining processes that we've developed to support students who can't physically make it to the Bechtel Center to do their stuff. The folks on campus will actually be coming in to use the equipment in the center. That's the only significant difference between the two. The novel interactive remote machining process is captured in this couple of minute video, which I've got on here and will be available on the slides, so you can watch that in your own time. And again, the difference is that the folks who are on the remote section will go all the way through this process. The folks who are on campus will just go through the online collaboration design phase. And when you've made sufficient progress to be able to use the equipment, you'll get an appointment to come in and use the equipment at the center. Class learning objectives. Again, don't want to bore you, but it's identify, select methods, tools, and materials to make a design, demonstrate the ability to use and access the Bechtel Center using the electronic and physical systems and policies that we have, generate a design in CAD, and then actually manufacture the design. Pretty simple, I hope. Resources and texts that you use. Well, Office, fine. Fusion 360, I just want to quickly show it to you here. This is a design I made earlier of a monitor mount that kind of hangs in midair on a couple of metal wires. And I did custom plates to mount the monitors to. And this is a great example. I mean, Fusion 360 is a wonderful package, very easy to use. I'm inherently lazy, by the way. The way this design is put together, I actually only designed one of these slots, and then I told Fusion to repeat it. And then I told Fusion to mirror the entire design over to the other side, so over here, because one of the things we'll be teaching you in your use of Fusion 360 is to how to be efficient or lazy and try and do as little kind of actual sketching and manual work as possible, because the computers are incredibly good at supporting you, speeding through your design. So Fusion 360, again, completely free for you guys to use as students, and it's a very powerful and useful tool, CAD tool. We'll be using Discord for the video conferencing and screen sharing and collaboration system, and we'll be using the Miro collaborative whiteboard, which I will also show you briefly. It's great. Miro is a multiplayer whiteboard. If someone else was using the whiteboard, you get to see their cursor zooming around as they drew things. You can write text, you can scribble, you can import photos, you can throw other things in there, snap something with your camera and add it to the whiteboard. At the end of the day, you can have a fairly complete kind of exchange of ideas and sketch of the design to start moving forward into the more formal process. And then finally export the whole thing as a picture and import it into Fusion 360 CAD and use that as the basis of your sketches moving forward. All in all, a very powerful and useful tool for discussing things when you don't quite know what you're doing yet. You don't quite know what you want. Miro is also free because one of the things we try and do at the Bechtel Center is present ourselves as zero cost as possible. We will be using Brightspace for class materials and management, and we don't have any textbook, though we will be presenting a lot of different readings and background material for you guys to dig into. So the actual graded components of the class, half of it's attendance. That's measured, basically 40% comes from answering quizzes on the lectures. So when we do a lecture, either in person or in this case for video, and obviously for folks remote, the remote section will record the presentation and lecture anyway. And then we'll loop back and make sure that you've understood it by asking you a quiz. All you have to do is get about over 60% of the answers correct, and you get a full credit for attending the lecture. So the quiz is there to make you kind of think over the material. Science says you will learn so much more and retain so much more if you just reflect on it a couple of days after you do it. And I do like to be scientific in my education where I can be. 25% of the grade will come from a couple of small homework assignments, which are kind of just stepping stones to the project. They're not a big deal, and those will be detailed when they come up. 25% of the grade will come from the actual project, which is the design and manufacture of a part using CAD. And I see my slide says Blackboard, where it should say Brightspace, but I'll correct that before I upload the slides. The project itself, pretty simple. You'll use your skills to create a part or project in the center. It needs to use at least 4 processors or machines. Trust me, this is not a hard requirement to meet if you're trying to do anything realistic. It's very easy to get there, or to just consult with us and we'll tweak your design very slightly to meet that requirement. It's just there to ensure that someone doesn't just, I guess, do a kind of a single process operation when they just slap like a sheet of wood in the laser and cut out a silhouette and then say, hey, I'm done. We just using it to force a little more complexity than that. And then you do a short report, preferably using a bunch of photos you took as you made your thing, and then we'll be able to make that work. And trust me, the project is so much more fun if you choose something you care about, something you're going to keep. Desk tidies are popular. Someone made a new knife handle. Someone else made basically a system for holding their plant pots to prevent them creating mess on the tables. It was, it's limitless. Somebody else made some custom parts for a robot they made in high school for BattleBots to make it even more effective. But in all, just choose something that you're passionate about, and the project will just fly by. Trust me on that. There's a tag team presentation that I mentioned. So this again is a strategy to ensure that you've got the information as well as possible, as well as it's actually quite a good skill to have. You'll basically have in groups of 4, I think. There may be some groups of 3 for this class. You'll present a very short presentation on last week's lecture and the materials covered, plus try and bring in at least one topic that we didn't talk about. And again, I'm not looking for rigorous, huge amounts of energy from your part. I am looking for some effort, don't get me wrong. No kind of ridiculousness. But on the other hand, it's not kind of like ridiculous levels of scrutiny of the exact formatting of your slides, for example. That's just not going to happen. Okay, and signing up will be part of Homework 1, which will come up next week when we actually talk about Homework 1. So, now onto the fun stuff. Let's talk about the Bechtel Innovation Design Center. It's located on 1093rd Street. Now, the good news is my assistant director, David McMillan, who you'll be seeing an awful lot more than you will be seeing us, will be... he's made a short video kind of overview of the center and the equipment in the center, which I will link in that you guys can watch to finish out the lecture. There will be quiz questions on the remote process and David's video. So that's going to cover nearly everything, including the PPE, the kind of equipment we have. But overview of the center is, this is from our mission statement, but the summary is, the best way to think of us is like a gymnasium. And that metaphor works on many levels. What does a gym provide you? A physical space. It has trainers and it has equipment that you do not have at home. Mind you, a lot of our equipment costs well over $100,000, and yes, we're okay with you using it with very little experience and training. Otherwise, how would you learn? But trust me, that's not normal for any kind of employer or any place like that. So please don't learn to expect it. But at the Bechtel Center, that's what we try and do. But it's like a gym works in another excellent way. You can be a member of a gym, but if you don't turn up and actually use the equipment, sweat, as it were, then you're not going to get fit. If you don't turn up and drive forward your project, it's not going to get made. So the gym metaphor is a useful one. So that's pretty much, I think, all from me. Let me just see. One last thing I definitely wanted to mention. We're not joking when we say it's a student-led, student-operated center. In fact, many of the innovations and technologies and techniques that you're going to experience come directly from your peer students who have been working hard on making systems and projects as accessible and figuring out problems for you and trying to solve them and put in place systems and strategies. So we're not joking when we say it's a center for students, run by students. What we're always on the lookout for is passionate people who can come alongside students who are just starting out, such as yourselves, and you'll get to meet them and chat to them and work with them as you work on your project. We need new ones of those. People who work for the center don't struggle to find a job on graduation. So, I always am needing fresh people to come alongside with passion and respect and dignity and to assist other students. And volunteering is a great way to get hands-on experience with the machines and processes. If you really want to learn something, then try helping somebody else doing it, and you'll soon realize how much you need to know. We look for volunteers. There's volunteering in the different areas of the center, from hot works, where you can learn welding and help people with welding, to electronics, 3D printing, and manufacturing, which is the kind of machining, composites, and other areas of the building. Again, we'll collect your interest as part of homework 1, and I want to very much stress that volunteering is optional. It does not affect your grade. It does not affect your progression in the class. But if you really want to take what you're seeing further and become part of the crew who help out students on campuses and making things, then volunteering is the way to do it. Last but not least, who you're likely to meet. Myself, I'm Dr. Matthew Swaby. David McMillan is our assistant director. Anu Powell is new this semester, hired on as our operations manager. And Nathan Staley is our community coordinator. You'll meet on Discord very soon. We also have some graduate students working with us, Jacob Lee and Alyssa Fernandez. And then there's about 20 odd undergraduate peer mentors who are often called TAs. And last but not least, you'll run into volunteers in the center, and hopefully some of you will be volunteers. So those are the kinds of people you'll find when you come to visit. Mentioned before, location, just to be very clear, we're on 3rd and Russell, right in the middle of this map. And that's the end of my presentation. So welcome to the class. Sorry for the delay. Should be back on track by next week, and we will be keeping you up to date through Brightspace. Watch this, watch the other videos. I will be putting a quiz on Brightspace. I do expect you to be able to answer most of the questions and start to build those points towards your attendance. Thank you very much.